Would you rather pew-pew a puppy or be single until you're 35? A question that we'll show an example of here in a little bit. A question that really highlights issues in the conservative evangelical world, because it is something that they have to debate. In the example that we are about to give you, you're going to see that some of them don't even debate that long on it. There are certain milestones and mile markers that we have to meet in order to have a successful life. And it's only because our values are put in certain situations and certain aspects of life. But truly, it can't be the case, can it? Are our only values about being in holy matrimony as recognized by God? Or is our only purpose on here for reproduction and popping out as many babies as we possibly can from the time that we're able to until the time we are not? It seems like that would leave for an unequally yoked type of situation when menopause hits into the women and men can still reproduce. What kind of dilemmas would that cause? All sorts of issues can be arise from this. What about youth? Children are able to reproduce now, technically. Should we allow them to start getting married at 12, 13 years old? When you try to put value into things that do not need to have value in it in the natural world, you're going to arise a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of ick in this world. So we're going to dive into today. Another day of purity culture and purity rings and purity balls and just pure fun for all of us. So purely join us, cleanse your hearts, put on your purity rings, cleanse yourself before you enter the holy temple of Drop the Stones.
Hi, I'm Candi.
And I'm Dan.
And you're listening to Drop the Stones,
a weekly podcast brought to you by a new sponsor this week. Fit-in sponsor, too. Sorry, if I look down, I'm reading the script that they gave us. Tired of battling temptation? Sick of that nagging voice in your head telling you to just say no? Well, we've got the solution for you. The ultimate chastity belt. Because why rely on willpower when you can just lock it all down? Cha-ching.
That's not the right sound. It sounds like a cash register.
Well, if you're having sex before marriage, might as well be taking money for it.
God.
Whether you're trying to dodge those awkward moments of desire or just need a little extra protection from your own thoughts, the ultimate chastity belt has you covered. Built with cutting-edge, guilt-infused technology, it keeps your purity intact while reminding you that no one ever said being holy was supposed to be comfortable. Click, click. Forget accountability partners. Forget self-control. With the ultimate chastity belt, you won't even need to have that conversation. It's like a one-size-fits-all solution to your spiritual and, let's face it, physical problems. Just strap in, lock it down, and let the faith do the rest. For the limited time, use code HOLYMOLY to get 10% off your first purchase. Because why risk temptation when you can lock it out? The ultimate chastity belt, keeping your faith and your pants secure. Order now if you lose the key or your nerve. And we'd like to thank our sponsor today, Ultimate Chastity Belt, keeping people virtuous and sanctified and holy until they get the wedding ring on.
And then they're dirty as AF.
No ding ding to the wedding ring.
Yeah. If you know, you know. That was a show we had to watch so many times. That was like one of the only shows, if you don't know, that's from the movie
Robin
Princess
Hood?
Bride.
Robin
No,
Hood?
that's from Robin Hood, yeah.
Men
Which
in
reminds me
Tights.
of Princess Bride because Ellis. What's his first name?
Cary Elwes?
Cary Elwes?
Yeah, Elwes. He had the key to the Best treasure in all the land.
And it was the chastity well. I don't know why that reminds me of, I mean, I know why it reminds me of Princess Bride, but I don't know why Princess Bride was in my Christian high school. That movie was like one of the few movies that wasn't marketed as a Christian movie. They allowed us to watch that movie, which is very strange. That one was picked. I wonder why. That would be kind of interesting for me to
because the pastor probably had a crush on Robin, right?
I don't know. We watched it every year. I got sick of it after a while. I was like, why are we watching this again? Because you know how much I love to watch movies over and over, the same one. I don't like that. They have to have a good chunk in between, but.
Yes, we know.
Anyways.
We know. Unless it was Titanic in the early 2000s when it was released.
I did watch that a few times. But I had a crush on Leonardo DiCaprio at the time. Now I know he likes very young ladies. Jack. Anyways. Okay.
All right. So you got a video you want to share with us. This is the first time.
We're going to try something new, guys.
Technology for Drop the Stones. We're branching out. We're trying new things all the time, unlike what you do in purity culture.
Oh, God, Dan.
Missionary only.
Daniel. Okay. All right.
Just like God intended.
Let's set
go ahead and start loading it up.
Well, I have it ready. I'm going to hit share in a second here, but
because remember Moral Oral, where they're teaching them that Noah taught all the animals how to have proper relations with each other.
Was that on Moral Oral? Missionary style only.
Yeah.
But okay, to set the stage a little bit, these kids, I think it says it on the top. It's a TikTok. And these kids that he's interviewing in it are at Liberty University. And if you don't know anything about Liberty University, it's Jerry Falwell.
Get the fuck off our show.
I think he started it. Jerry Falwell was instrumental in getting conservatives to be linked to Republican, to Christian, to all that. Okay. So he played a big role in that. And his son is in charge of it now, I think, still, or he's a big player in it, in what they do there. And he's had some, actually it was some stuff dealing with sexuality that has been put out. And I mean, it's kind of their business, but whatever. When you're claiming to be a certain way and then you're doing something else, that's where the problem is, right? That's that hypocrisy we've talked about. So anyways, he's interviewing these kids and I'm going to share it now. So get your headphones on too, Dan.
Get my headphones on.
I'm just going to start right up once I'm
going to start right up. I'm going to pop it in. This is seamless technology.
Would you rather kill a puppy or not get married until you're 30?
Kill a puppy.
Kill a puppy.
Kill a puppy.
Kill a puppy.
Kill a puppy. Not get married till 30.
Oh, wow. Save the dogs.
Okay. I wouldn't get married.
All right. Would you rather leave Liberty without a degree or without an engagement ring?
Without a degree.
Degree.
Ring.
Degree.
Degree. Degree.
Degree.
Wow. Would you rather kill a puppy or not get married till you're 35?
I'm going to have
This puppy's gone.
I'm going to have to say wait to get married.
Wow.
That puppy's gone.
Would you guys rather kill a puppy or not get married till you're 40?
Ooh. What kind of puppy?
Chihuahua.
Oh, absolutely Chihuahua. I'd kill it instantly.
Yeah, our puppy's gonna go. It's not. What was that show, Kingsman? They kill a puppy or something like that. Yeah, it's.
All right. Well, let me change it. Let's say it's a golden retriever.
I have to go with the puppy. Yeah.
So I find it very interesting that we are in this section where I've seen it in other areas of faiths with Mormonism or whatever, where they do these questions, like I've seen them done on BYU campus, similar to this. And it just amazed me, no matter what the faith or whatever it is, these people just bow to their faith. They don't even think about it. They don't think about harming another living creature. and seeing that is a worst case scenario than not getting married. And he went up even higher, which I think would make it easier to say, kill the puppy 40, 35, but 20 or leaving college without a degree and not being married. It just shows this indoctrination that's been instilled on these people.
I would agree with you, but I think sometimes this video could be interpreted several different ways. But what I'm thinking is happening here is he's talking to these young people who are supposedly staying abstinent.
Yeah.
And they are at, these boys especially are at the height of their, their sex drive.
Yeah.
And you're asking them to then wait 15 years. Mm-hmm. They're like, absolutely not. I cannot do that. I'm not doing that. I should kill a puppy because it's a biological function that's happening inside them, right? So it would be like, would you rather starve yourself for 100 days or kill a puppy? You might end up killing a puppy before you get to that 100 days because you're starving, right? That might happen.
You wouldn't make it 100 days, but...
No, actually, I heard somewhere that the longest fast was, but he was eating something. So it really wasn't. I feel like a fast has to be like almost nothing.
Yeah.
If not, nothing. Anyway, so... that's really, I think, where these kids are coming from. But it sounds like people who are listening, they think they're holding to their faith because they love the faith. They got to follow God. I think it's just, I cannot control that biological urge as long as you are asking me to hold it. Yeah. I think that's really what's under it, because marriage to them equals sex. That sex is elevated to this highest level. It's not about marriage, because most of those people would not do that if they could just have sex and then they could fall in love. They could still fall in love. They could still have sex. They could still have deep relationships. They just can't sign a paper and stand before, an officiant and say, I do. You just can't do that. If that was it, they would all choose to wait to get married. Yeah. Every single one of them. I have no doubt. Oh, yeah. But because they can't have sex and they're at their not, I want to say their prime, but it's not their prime, but their sex drive is very high, you know, and they're probably, some of them are attracted to each other that are sitting there. There's probably some couples there. That's what it is. It's not about, and Christianity creates this problem where you'd be willing to do something very terrible because you're trying to suppress biological desires, functions, not just desires. These are biological, like we are part of our humanness is a biological drive to reproduce, because every species has that. That's otherwise it dies off.
And I think both of our sediments are kind of tied together. I mean, not kind of, they are tied together, because there is this, like you're saying, a desire, this need, this instinct inside of us to reproduce. And there's also this church system that's putting this regulation on it of wait.
Or like not just wait, like you are going to burn in hell or something bad will happen, right?
It's the special gift you're supposed to give your spouse. Yeah. And it's more catered to shame the women than the men, because apparently, even though it's not true, you can tell with a woman a lot easier than a man if they've been with someone else, even though the whole hymen check thing is a falsity, because it's not supposed to break, and it also can break doing other numerous things.
Yeah. Falling bikes, in certain ways,
riding horses, water skiing.
Yeah. It was just a way, that was just an idea for part of the patriarchy that was come up with to control women even more. So
it's more, I think, skewed towards the women, because the men can slide by it pretty easily. And that shows in the culture, because you see how men act and women act and are treated, but when they're promiscuous, there's definitely a different mindset there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like a man would be treated as though almost like he's attracted to women.
Especially now with the toxic masculinity that's being boasted about.
Yeah. But some of these guys, I guarantee you, your dad, I guarantee my dad, there was a little bit of relief that you weren't attracted to men.
Oh, yeah.
you know, which is sad, but I think that is in there, right? And then when it gets to the daughters, it's like a shame, a dirtiness. So there's almost pride in the son from the father's perspective, pride in the son, shame, dirtiness in the daughter, right? She's been defiled in some way.
Yeah.
And then for
it's
the
stud versus whore.
Yeah. Yes. So then the woman, or on the mom's side, when she's viewing her children, let's say they've had sex outside of marriage, right? The son, she'd probably honestly look at that girl in a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
That was with him. Like she was kind of like a little hussy or whatever the words they would use, you know. There was something dirty about her.
Yeah.
She would blame her rather than her son. Like she lured him. She seduced him, right? Mm-hmm. And then her daughter, still shame, embarrassment, dirty, dirtiness or something.
And it's this whole mindset that, and it's been a while since we've talked hard on purity culture. It's this whole mindset of value in this gift that you're to give to your husband. And it's a fucked up system from the beginning of how it's arranged. And I think maybe we'll get into it. Maybe we won't. We'll see where the conversation leads. But the patriarchy is putting this prize mainly on the women.
A price of purity, like a jewel that's pure, that's not tainted.
Your ownership is by your father. Mm-hmm. That is going to give you up and trade you basically in the old days for some goods or services. You're paying a dowry or whatever for your daughter because you're being treated like cattle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you were the possession of the husband.
Yeah. And if you're not pure,
you're
who's going to want you? They're not going to want you. You have to stay pure because your father wants to make as much money as he possibly can off of you. So right?
You have that. And even though that's not
they're not going to say that today.
It's done today.
It was originally, though, I bet you.
It still is. It was, originally, because, they do a check.
So that undercurrent is still there.
They would do a check on the female. So a priest
would come in. Like you would do on an animal?
He would examine the female to make sure the hymen was still present. Especially with royalty and everything else,
Well, first of all, so he'd be sticking his fingers up in there?
Yeah.
Okay. How is that not going to break or rip or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, he was trained professional.
Okay, please. Who gets that job? All the guys, I'll take that job. That's the job I want, please. But I'm wondering if they thought this way about animals. So about their sheep, let's just say, were their sheep dirty after they had
no, because it was different. I mean, they would actually value sheep that the value was different. It was about genetic traits. So, I mean, really not that different because a lot of marriages are arranged on that. You got good genes, you come from good stock. So, let's get married.
I think still today, we haven't married off that even that language is antiquated, but we haven't had any of our children get married. But I'm wondering how people, do you hesitate if the person doesn't have the type of employment that you think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's still, because I watch a lot of not a lot, but I watch Love is Blind, right?
Yeah.
I like that kind of real, where the relationships are being worked together, and the parents do still kind of they want to know.
Yeah, it's like everything else in life. It's tough to make generalizations because it is up to an individual. A lot of times people are going to be like, hey, we get together. This isn't going to work if one partner or the other is not contributing financially to what's going on. We just won't be able to afford a house or an apartment or anything like that. So we got to figure out how this is going to work.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't even look at that and they're just like, I love this person for whatever, so
let's go back to Christianity. In Christianity.
Well, like in our case, you had to have good evangelical stock. You weren't going to marry outside of your faith.
Well, but I'm thinking you had to be employed, first of all, because it would be the goal, the ultimate goal would be you provide for the children and me monetarily, and I take care of the home and do the raising of the children or whatever. So that would be the quote unquote ideal, right? And for you, if you were, I know you came in as a Catholic, so you weren't having this mindset, but an evangelical man is looking for a woman who's a virgin. He doesn't necessarily, so you're not even really looking at, are these traits, are they a good, caring person? How do they relate to their parents? How do they relate to their siblings? How do they get along with their friends? What do they do for a living? Is it benefiting the world? Is it not? Do they seem to have good work ethic? Do they have to, you're not really weighing that as much.
Well, it could be later. I mean, but there's definitely boxes that need to be checked beforehand.
Marrying at, I didn't marry for any of those reasons. I did marry for love. I fell in love, and that is why I married. But this guy, he's really great. But I ended up with you. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Really, that's all you have to say? I'm bound to you for life, and you're like, sorry.
Maybe we can find him. You guys can reunite.
Are you ready to get rid of me? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just want you to be happy.
Okay, whatever right now, please. Okay, so I did marry for love, and I'm wondering if a lot of these young kids, it's not necessarily
it's
love. It's I wasn't looking to I wasn't so excited to have sex, but I wanted to be married for sure. I wanted to be married.
Let's define what love is, because honestly, I don't think you'd have the same definition today as you did at the time we were married.
No, probably not.
And you would say, no, you were probably more infatuated than you were. And
that's what I was trying to I mean, obviously you can't, I don't think love, can it be blind or does it happen? I mean, love grows. I will just say that. It was the beginnings of love. So it was mostly chemistry. We were drawn to each other. We liked each other, right? We liked hanging out with each other. So, and that's important. You have to have that physical attraction, I think, or it has to come at some point. You can't be repulsed by your partner.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
She's just not repulsed by me.
Thank you. Okay, anyways. So yes, that's what's happening at first. I'm just trying to think back as that Christian girl. And I say girl because I was 19 when we started. I was 18 when we started dating, and 19 when we got engaged, and 20 when we got married. So very young. You don't really have time to think about.
I was young too.
Yes,
so
you were
don't
young.
act like our children would say.
He was 19 when we started dating. I was 18. He was 22 when we got married. I keep saying because I'm trying to think what I was.
You're talking about your mindset at that time.
Yeah. I mean, I had dated other people, and I just really, I remember asking myself, can I imagine myself not having this person in my life? That was really my litmus test. You had to be an evangelical, or you had to become the type of Christian. I wouldn't call myself evangelical because I really didn't know what I was, but you had to be a Christian, because I thought you weren't a Christian because you were Catholic. Just like I didn't think a Mormon was a Christian. I didn't think anybody who didn't believe exactly like me pretty much was a Christian, even though everybody who I knew and thought was a Christian like me probably believed some things differently. We all believed a little bit differently. We just didn't know it, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, you had to be that, and that was all. I had to be attracted to you, and you to me. And you had to be a Christian. That's such a low bar.
Yeah, that is. But that
got you in, buddy. That's what got you in.
Yeah, it did. It got me in. But that's what was instilled in you, because your whole goal in life that you were taught was to get to that day.
Yeah, I mean, I was
ring,
and I was doing it younger than a lot of people I knew. Sure.
And then we could start having babies soon thereafterwards, because that's your life mission.
That's what you're here for. That's what will bring you the ultimate satisfaction, right?
And that's what these kids in this video were proven, is that their whole mission in life wasn't about getting an education, getting a life experience of college, or any of that. It was overridden by the fact
or
of,
even whether
I'm
they would
here,
murder a puppy.
It's some weird, just Tinder type environment of, I'm only here to find my future mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times that is probably what college is about.
I'm only going to college to find my future wife, my future husband,
yeah,
whatever.
Then if I find them, then I'm done.
Yeah.
And then my life is, that's when my life officially starts. Maybe sometimes people think.
I'm into adulthood. It's like it's your bar mitzvah for Christians. Get married.
Yeah. I mean, they want them to marry young. They do.
They do because, and there's reasons for it. And the whole system's set up to have this idea, like we were talking earlier, restraint. And I've done videos here recently on the prohibition of things and how prohibitions never work. You know, you had prohibition of alcohol.
It just goes underground,
Yeah, it went underground, started organized crime. You had prohibition of drugs, and then you now have countries in Central America that are economies are based on their drug trade with the America. It's still accessible. It's still out there. It just goes into deep, dark places. So you prohibit sex. And I think one person put a comment on there on YouTube of, if you want someone to do something, tell them they can't.
That's true.
And that is something
That's
you,
exactly
young lady, should have tattooed on you, because whenever I say you can't do that, you're like, oh, yeah? Hold my beer. Watch.
That is true. I do not like someone telling me.
Story time.
Oh, God.
Candy's 9 months pregnant with her first child.
Oh, God. Come on now.
Not that one.
Okay. Just
there was a
nice
different one
me.
where we had this giant, what'd you call it in the dining room? Buffet.
It's an old antique buffet.
It was heavy. It was filled with stuff. And Candy wanted to move it because, 8, 9 months pregnant, nesting, trying to get everything ready for the baby. And I said, well, let me wait till I get home from work and I'll move it. And sure as shit, as I come home, it's moved to the new spot. And she's sitting there. I go, what did you do? She's like, I moved it. I couldn't wait for you any longer.
My patience wasn't the greatest.
Basically, the reason you did it was because I said, you can't do that. You're 8 months pregnant. And you're like, bullshit.
Yeah, that kind of gets in my head.
And
then I start to think, I can do it. How can I do this? And what I did is I sat on the floor and I used my legs against the wall and against the floor and pushed with my back.
Picture that. 8 months pregnant.
Okay, it worked.
And so we got that going for us, which is nice. But yeah, it's true. If you want someone to do something, tell them they can't. And when you want,
as a side note, that is what the whole story of the Bible, in my opinion, is actually, when I view it now, that's the whole point of the law. Tell them they can't do it. They're going to do it. And then they're going to realize, I can't live my life trying to live by this law because it's overwhelming. Yeah. That's the whole point of it. It's not to make you actually follow it and be good at it. You don't want to be good at it. The point is that you're not good at it.
So when you tell someone they can't do something that is inherently built into their personhood, it's part of their physical being. They have this desire. Mm-hmm. And you tell them don't act on it. I mean, that's almost like saying don't breathe, don't eat,
don't drink water, don't sleep. Yeah, it's a biological function, just like all of those. But sex has been turned into this weird, and it would be really interesting to study how we got to the point of sex being this thing that is equated to purity. Maybe it's the one way that men need women, like they cannot reproduce without women.
Honestly, I think it can be boiled down to men. They want to be.
It's a way of controlling a woman, and that is the thing that they want so bad is what a woman has.
It's Sodom and Gomorrah. I've had you. I now have dominion over you. And if I can say that, then no one else has had this. This is mine and only mine. And then if I go out and take another man's wife, I show dominance in that area too.
So do you think way back when this kind of started, which I don't know, could be in the beginning of consciousness with men. I don't know. I have no idea. But Do you think love was a factor at all? Like they fell in love with each other at all, or is there emotional?
Yeah, I think there was something. Eventually, when it's tough to say because
Like when did men stop looking at women as property?
Animals, and we started having more um, sentience amongst ourselves.
When we went to consciousness, nobody. Yeah, I think there's a point where you can see. I think it was about 10,000 years. I don't know. I'm talking about.
So there was a time that it switched.
There is a time that it happened.
Relation, and I enjoy this mate. I enjoy this partner. This is who I want to be with. But I think there's something to the fact of I've been the only one to bed this woman. It's some sense of dominion and power and strength to say this is mine, and it plays off with the whole this is my prize bride. I'm gonna have her, she's my arm piece. I'm gonna show her off. It's why women, I think, probably have this need and want to always keep this youthful glow about themselves and always look because they can sense this.
Well, it's a way of staying safe because then you have value. You lose, the
value's been established by men of saying, this is in your beauty, this is in your appearance. This way I can tote you around, and every other guy that's looking at you going, man, she's good looking. I wish I had her. You'd be like, I'm the only one that's had her. So
that's
I've
really
won.
Sad. Yeah.
So
that's really disgusting.
Yeah. But that's what it's boiled down to, this whole.
It's like then the woman, if you don't grow out of that way of thinking, as you get older, of course you're going to now, along with you're both aging, right? But a man is allowed to age and a woman isn't in a way, according to this kind of culture.
But it plays back to that prize.
And then, of course, you as a husband, if you still stay in that way of thinking, your prize is fading and it's not looked at as a prize anymore, right? Because its only value is its youth and its ability to reproduce and its purity. No longer is it pure, you've used it, right? So it's kind of lost some of its luster. Maybe another man might want it, but it's like still it's getting older now. And so it's losing what society has said makes it valuable. But if you can change that way of thinking, because that way of thinking will make your marriage miserable as you get older, because as you look at her, it's kind of like, it reminds me of your dad when he said, when he started having grandkids, when his kids started having kids, it didn't like hit him like, I'm a grandpa. What it did is it hit him that I'm married to a grandma. And that bothered him. Like he was bothered by that thought. And that is so disturbing because he's still in that thinking of like, this is this prize thing. And now it's dropping in value. So I'm dropping in value, right? My status is being dropped in society because of her. And so he blames her. And if you blame your partner for anything, if you sit there and you stew on blame for your partner, there's going to be friction and tension in the relationship, period. There's no way around it, right?
Yeah.
So you wonder why all these marriages are like miserable as they get older. And that's one thing I've always noticed about like a lot of older marriages. They just look like they fucking suck.
Well, and that could be part of it. Some of it could be that they never really got to know each other before they got married. And then they felt bound by law and regulation of the church to stay together.
Yeah.
That it would be.
I think that's part of it too.
And they just grown to despise each other because they never really loved each other.
Well, and a lot of times women pour themselves into their children and because the relationship isn't doing well. So they're like, fine. He's, I think a lot of women crave this connection naturally. And these men are told don't do that basically, or it's reinforced at work. Your job is bringing money. It's not about connection and closeness and with your wife. You're the boss of your wife. You're the head of your wife, right? It's a business contract rather than a relationship where you walk side by side through life. Now you have a partner. I think in my mind, as we deconstructed, I always thought of myself as less than you. I was underneath your, I don't know, godliness and it bothered me.
The umbrella showed that.
Yes, exactly. The umbrellas, which it bothered me because I was like, God used to talk to me before I got married to you. And now all of a sudden that I'm married, he's not going to talk to me. He's going to talk through you. And I have to go to you to make sure it's him. And that always bothered me. But whatever, that's a side note. So, but somewhere along the line, my thoughts started to change, and I started to think, hey, we're like a team moving forward, growing things, creating things like a podcast or whatever. We're doing things together as a team. And it seemed more like that, going back a couple episodes to that we became more equally yoked.
Yeah.
Like we're walking together rather than, I'm down here and you're up here. And, you're kind of dragging me along into this system. And because you're being told to, right? And I'm trying to, in our case, it was more like I'm pushing you into the system, like guide me, pull me. But then if you pulled me, I didn't like it. But I still would do it sometimes. And sometimes I would complain about it. And I guarantee a lot of these women who try to portray that they're so meek and mild behind closed doors, I'm pretty sure it flares up once in a while.
Yeah.
Because they're trapped. Like if you were to trap a dog, not to equate a woman with a dog, but as an analogy, if you trap an animal in a cage and they cannot get out of it unless you say so, and they're very controlled in what they can and cannot do, they're going to bite at you. They're not going to be the friendliest of animals, period, because they're actually afraid. It's not because they're evil. It's they're afraid of anything that's different. So, it's the same. Humans are animals too.
Yeah.
We do have animal-like instincts in many ways. We just also have this advanced consciousness. Animals have some conscious. Dogs have more than some other animals. And then, dolphins have quite a bit of consciousness, actually.
Yeah.
I think dolphins are one of the top ones. But humans are at the top of consciousness as far as I know. And so this is where we need to shift out of this patriarchy, because maybe our ancestors, I'm talking before we were Homo sapien, maybe the males led. Maybe they did. I don't know. There's species where females lead, right?
Yeah.
But maybe the males led. But that was before consciousness that we have right now.
And I think that's part of it. It's fighting against this system, because what it is what these kids are doing is that they're operating within the system that's set up. And the system that's set up is an old one where we need to have influence, and our influence can only be recognized if we have more numbers than the other people around here. So what are we going to do? We are going to outproduce with children everyone else in the country. Yeah. So we need you to be married at the peak time of childbearing years.
So you need to get as many babies in as you can.
So honestly, they'd be extremely happy if everyone got married at 18. And it's a big reason why you're seeing legislation that's getting brought up for
some of them
14, 15, 12-year-old marriage. Because, let's start getting these babies made. We need voters. We need representation. So we are going to start pumping out as many kids as possible. And the only way we can do that is if we start getting married young. And have a baby.
Tell them to wait until they're married. Don't teach them sex ed at all. Don't let them know how this happens.
Yeah.
So that they will just start having them.
Yeah. And you have a baby, and then baby comes out. If you can hold off for that 6 weeks, go ahead. But we don't care as long as you get pregnant again right away. And do it again right away and keep going, and then have as many as you possibly can. We don't care about affording them or anything like that. You just have them all. We need numbers.
Actually, and we'll tell you that the finest of you will keep the woman at home so she can raise them.
There's always prize associated with having children, and many arrows in my quiver, and stuff like that. So the more kids you have, the more blessings you have, the greater God has blessed you, and you just keep having all them babies, and that's all it's about.
And we kind of think of that. You think of the Duggars, which is extreme.
Yeah,
that's extreme. But did you know one of the Duggar daughters, I think it is, lives in Nebraska?
Huh. Oh yeah.
I don't know which one it is, but anyway. So we look at these families, maybe not at the extreme of 19 kids or whatever they ended up having, but where they have like us, when we would go places with our kids when they were well behaved, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just so wholesome to people. People loved it, especially like older people, just, oh, it's so adorable. We have an adorable family. We got those kind of comments when we were Christians. It was considered such a good, godly, beautiful thing.
But it's funny because, you saw it and I saw it a lot too. It was, oh yeah, another kid, that's awesome. Until I switched jobs to a more secular type workforce. And we only had 4 kids when I started there. And then I said, yeah, Candy's pregnant with the 5th. And they're like, what? Seriously, dude, stay off her. They're like, go get a broccoli band and tie it around yourself so you don't have any more kids. Cut off the balls. You need to stop.
Oh, yeah. We were called breeders. Remember that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we understand both sides of it. We were lauded for it and we were scorned for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the whole purpose of the system is they want numbers. And it's actually...
And there's nothing wrong. If you want to have children, you want to have lots of children, like some people do.
Yeah.
But kind of ask yourself, why? Is it because the system programmed you to that's the ideal and that's what you're aiming for? Or is it because that's what you truly want and your partner truly wants? Like that is something to... If it's true, if it's not, you're not programmed. If you're not programmed to want it, then it should be safe to look at it, right?
Yeah.
And evaluate it and see if it holds true that it's something you actually truly desire.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one reason for this early marriage, which is what these kids are dealing with. They want to be, you leave college, how old are you? 23, 24?
22.
Yeah, in that range.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know yourself. You don't know anything. And I think that's another reason why they want to do this, because you don't know who you are yet.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you can get a woman in her youth, because not only is she going to have more time where she can have children, but also she's naive. She doesn't know herself. And I've heard preachers say, like, get them while they're young so you can mold them into the shape that you want. That's mind control. You messing with their minds is what you're doing to shape them a certain way.
Yeah. And these systems understand that if someone were to get to know themselves and understand themselves, they'll see that value is in self, and they don't need to have a partner.
Then a partner doesn't complete them, but complements them. You bring in somebody in because, hey, they make my life is good. They make my life even more enjoyable. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They add to it.
And for their program to work, they need it to be a completion. So you don't know yourself yet? Perfect. Get married. And that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it's why I think you see a big range, and you have all these Christians get married at 19, 20, 21, and all these secular people get married at 28, 29, 30 or above.
Or older.
Is because they understand what's going on. And there's correlation in the success rate of these marriages. The ones that are waiting until 28, 29, 30 have a better chance of surviving a lifetime or longer than the ones that are 20, because these people understand who they are.
They understand what they're looking for.
They find someone that complements who they are.
Yes.
And they've had experience in the world and everything else. These people at 20, 21, eventually you're going to be like, this isn't who I am. I'm not really happy here. And then they start to find themselves and they realize this jackass isn't going to meet the standards that I want in my life. He's not going to complement.
Well, I think that's what you're seeing in deconstruction, because for us in deconstruction, like it's
rare.
It seems rare. I don't know. I would be interested in looking into that, but it does seem rare that a couple deconstructs together. We do know couples that have.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of them probably married for love and not because, hey, you're just I don't know. But they were able to work through it and they actually grew together. But what happens in a lot of these cases is the person who's beginning to deconstruct is growing and changing, and they're realizing they're discovering who they are.
Yeah.
And now they don't mesh well with this person. Now, do I think if this person, the other person, would start to grow and change, is it more likely that they could stay together? Yeah, probably, because they both mature together. But it's less likely if one takes off in deconstruction, or not just deconstruction. It's if you get older and you start to realize who you are, and I think that happens even in, let's say, evangelical marriages that stay together. I don't know. In a lot of ways, I feel like my evangelical parents, your Catholic parents, I don't think they even know who they actually are.
No.
Really. They don't know what they...
And that's part of the system, too, is because you forced yourself into roles.
Not a whole lot of hobbies do any of our parents have.
Because you forced yourself into roles.
Yeah.
I am this in a marriage. This is what I am. And you went and which doesn't make sense with my parents at all because they weren't religious.
No.
Until.
But it's the system.
After we all moved out of the house and were married.
Yeah, that's true. But capitalism and Catholicism does have an undertone of this same message, right? It's in there subtly. So they still were programmed, and capitalism and Christianity are linked.
Mm-hmm.
So your parents grew up in the system that you get married, you have children. They got married very young, the same ages as we did, pretty much, right? Your mom was 20 and your dad was 22, I think.
Yeah.
And they got married and had children. Not as many as us, but your mom stayed home a good chunk of the time, right? And then she worked. Yeah. Your dad, he was the breadwinner. But your parents kind of, they don't, like your dad helps cook a lot, right?
Yeah.
And he cleans and they they don't hold strictly to these roles.
They don't hold to a lot of the gender roles, but they still pigeonhole themselves into.
Yeah, they do really. It's so interesting that a lot of these Christians that we know, and I don't know that this is particularly Christian or anything, but like, where's the hobbies that these people do not have? Like, they don't have hobbies at all. Maybe it's that generation. My parents don't have hobbies. Your parents, my mom has tried some things, but she doesn't stuck with anything.
They might need to go to the lobby.
No, you don't buy things at the hobby of the lobby.
Hobby of the lobby.
Mm-mm. They support,
Yeah, I know. We flip it off every time we drive by. So, but yeah, they got pigeonholed in these areas, which it just baffles me that, that they're there. But then when the kids are gone and moved out, it's this.
Now
what's left? We know people that are getting close to that stage, and it's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Hopefully there's grandkids around, so then there's something else to dote on and pour your energy into, because that's what their parents, well, their in-laws did, but not their parents. Inside joke. But that's what you got to, if you don't have that to pour into, then we got to start dealing with each other. And we worked through this. And there's a lot of couples that haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all been, well, I'm going to go to work again. And what happens when he retires and now you're both home together?
Now he's around all the time and he's annoying, Also, if you think about this other element to evangelical Christianity, is therapy is terrible. Yeah. Mental health doesn't matter, right? You could pray it away. Yeah. So when
the
these
mind
couples
of Christ doesn't get mentally ill.
Well, yeah, and when these couples have issues and need therapists, they don't go to therapists. They go to their pastor, or they go, they go in shame and secret. Or they go to Christian counselors that market themselves as Christian counselors, which will stick to what the pastors preach sometimes. I don't know. There might be some decent ones, but I know when we were deconstructing and stuff, there was a time when I was looking for a therapist, and I specifically did not want a Christian one, because I wanted to be free to just talk about, what I was deconstructing from, and a Christian one's going to try to wrap me back into it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're marketing yourself as a Christian one,
it's not a good place to go. It's
no,
because you're going to use your interpretation of what the Bible says. So now
Christianity has such just a pigeonhole of people where it puts people that
here's the rules. Here's the rules you have to fall into. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So it's like when we were doing the marriage encounter. What was that called?
Weekend to Remember.
Yeah. The classes at church for that. And it was like, well, here's what a man needs. So women, understand what you need to do and do these things for your man. So it shows him. And husbands, it was, here's a floppy carnation. Go give it to your wife. This will make her just melt.
I will say, I was like, did they just give this to you in the hallway and tell you to give it to me? I was just like, this means nothing to me in my hand. I was like, I could throw this in the trash as I walk out because it meant nothing. It was stupid. But I will say there was one church we went to that had a couples thing, and I actually absolutely loved what that one was.
Even though the person
I didn't really
I
wasn't a fan of the person who led it, but it was so short at the beginning.
It was a teacher that got on her case.
Oh my gosh. It was a teacher from my high school who was always on my case. She just did not, she just didn't like me. And I kind of had a mouth sometimes with her, but
you
anyways.
Probably flirted with her fiance.
Yeah, she probably was engaged. She probably was a young 20-some-year-old when she was teaching, 16-year-olds. Anyways, the way they set it up, it was just date nights. We will watch your kids on Friday nights for 2 hours from 6 to 8. There was just a little introduction, maybe half an hour. She would speak on something. Maybe here's some topics you can talk about. We could do it or we could not. And we will watch your little ones from 6 to 8 every Friday or every other Friday or something like that. And it was wonderful. It was amazing. We felt like they're in a safe place. We can drop them off. They'll have fun. And then we would go on dates. And I loved that system, but do churches still do that anymore? I don't know.
There might be some.
I mean, that was I remember telling one person when they were deconstructing, they loved they liked their kids being in Sunday school because their kids really liked it, right? But they were deconstructing and they were getting tired of this. I said, use it as a daycare. Take them there. Do they have a coffee place in that place? Just go sit and drink coffee with your spouse or whatever, and enjoy yourself, or go to a nearby place, maybe, because they call on their phone. If they have a problem, they'll text them, right? So you're right there. They can text you. Don't go far or walk around the church, I don't know. I don't think that's a terrible idea.
No.
They're in a place, but then again, we know what goes on in churches with young people sometimes. So maybe I take all that back.
Yeah, background check on this guy. So I mean, we kind of covered a couple different aspects of this control that these kids are under. And I think it shows there because there was not much hesitation from the kids.
No. There was a few that surprised me. The one girl that said she would not get married rather than shoot a puppy. But then when it got to the degree, she didn't want to leave without a degree, which I thought she would stay kind of more, that she would say the degree, but she didn't, which I thought was interesting. She must just have a really strong love for puppies, which is nice and cute, but not for her education. Enough for her education was kind of interesting.
Well, it's a woman, so in a Christian college, so her education is pretty much useless.
Yeah.
You're just paying for this dating app of going to college.
Yeah, it's just an expensive dating app. Very expensive, right?
Yeah, but it puts this emphasis on things, and it's an emphasis, and everything's set up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it, to do it so young and to put these needs and desires and restrict them from these young people, to say you can only do it until you can't do it until you're married.
Well, and some of them are like, you can't even kiss, you can't hold hands until you're married.
And now you're old enough to get married, so let's get going, And then part of the
but also you've told a woman her purity is attached to it until she gets married. So apparently in her head, it's like, I'm dirty at my wedding night, right? So her head is messed up when it comes to sexuality, you know. And this guy thinks she's going to blow his mind on their wedding night, which she doesn't have she's in turmoil. You see what I'm saying? It's set up, that's another way it's set up for failure, is how they understand sex.
Yeah.
And then that it's supposed to magically be this wonderful thing on the wedding night, and after it's supposed to get better. That's not how it works.
Oh, she threw the hands, folks.
Well, it's not. I mean, there's so many problems that are not in the physical body. There's no problems in the physical body. It is in the head.
Oh, yeah.
The head is so messed up as to what is happening on this day because of the message that is so subtly taught. It's not directly taught that when you say things like stay pure until marriage, you have added that idea that when you're married, you are impure now.
Yeah.
That's goes along with it. The purity stops at marriage.
I think the best example was the day after our wedding, because we all stayed in the same bed and breakfast. Our parents were on a different floor than us, and your sisters and brothers were there too. And your sister walks up to you that next morning as you're grabbing your cinnamon roll and orange and says, "You're not pure anymore."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't believe it, that message was clear enough to her as a, 12-year-old at the time?
She would have been, 13 years old.
Yeah. That this is what it meant.
I forgot about that. I do remember she said that, and that's sad because
that's the messaging that was put out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same messaging you were receiving too.
Makes me sad for her.
So, yeah, it was,
sad for me, but I've grown back, but it just sad for her, this little 13-year-old. I mean, I was that 13-year-old too, but just the thought and knowing some of the life situations she's been in, and that is probably still underlying somewhere in that mind that hasn't been dealt with. That's so sad because that's the message that has gotten across. That a little 13-year-old child would go up to a 20-year-old on their wedding day or the next day and say, "You are no longer pure."
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
And we didn't even get into the details of everything, but no.
I mean, we could talk about purity culture for episodes and episodes and episodes.
It's just a fucked up thing.
It is.
It's horrible. It's
not helping us. It's not making us healthier.
Yeah.
It's making us, and it does not.
It doesn't help anything. It just makes everything. It stresses the mental faculties.
Yeah. And you know what? It also, I think it starts introducing this idea of something you want that you can't have. You do that so young, they want it younger than they would have. You know what I'm saying? I heard one guy say he had never thought about having sex before. And he was starting to date girls and like them and you kiss and blah, blah, blah. But he hadn't thought about having sex till it was like preached at him.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he wanted it more than anything.
Yep.
And it's just like, and that doesn't, and some people go, well, then there's something wrong with him because all men, that's what they, no, you've been programmed to want it at the stage that you want it. Like it's been programmed and taught and preached and, shoved at you so that, and it's basically the message to a woman is that that's all men want. That's all they care about. They don't care if they emotionally attach to you. They don't care about any of that. They don't care about staying and helping you raise the family. They just care about that you give them sex and you stay attractive enough that they want to have it from you.
Yeah.
That is not a recipe for a good, strong, healthy relationship at all.
No.
So, I mean, it hurts, patriarchy hurts women, but it hurts men just as bad.
Yeah. But they don't see it. They just see it as advantageous and it's my property and I get it when I want it. And it's sick and disgusting.
I know.
But this video was just a highlight and an example of what it leads to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what these kids' goal is. It wasn't about getting their education. It wasn't about learning about life, learning about themselves, getting well-rounded and understanding the environment and the world around them. It was about, she's going to be my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, you could wait a little while longer, it's all right. Just experiment a little bit with each other and don't worry about burning in eternity forever. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, the God to be up there saying, all right, I know you guys are eventually going to get married and you're still you're dating now. And I know you're getting married here soon, but
I know there's wars and people being, kids starving and everything, but this is important to me. Where if that thing touches that thing, it also, as a kind of end note too, is I think if we could, I don't know that society could ever get to this point, but if we could stop with this stigma of purity and attaching so much to to the act of sex.
Mm-hmm.
If a woman is assaulted, she would not have shame to come forward. It would be like if I was punched in the face, I have no problem going to the authorities and say I was punched in the face. Like that person needs to punch in the face. But that person needs, there's some justice that needs to happen here, right? But when it comes to a sexual crime, the women feel shame because we've created this system that creates that shame on a woman. So she doesn't come forward. It's because she's going to get exposed as someone who's dirty or been defiled in some way. And so there's shame rather than, hey, he attacked a certain part of my body.
Yeah.
Just like any other part. Why do we have this special, this area is different.
In the patriarchy, there's more to that than just the shame of the sexual act. It's, well, what were you doing to cause this?
Yeah, because it means that she also seduced, or there's going to be questions of that.
Did you really say no?
And she's probably asking herself.
Were you guys started already and into it, and then you said no? Because that's really not fair to him.
Yeah.
He's a microwave. He was already heated up, and once you get to a certain point, you just can't stop.
Yeah.
No matter you want to stop, you don't have, and it's like that prevents a lot of it. And
well, yeah, because there's that shame, and then there's
it's men not being able to take accountability or responsibility or control over their own selves.
No. They just want to be lazy.
Anytime a guy says, well, I had a raging boner, so I had to do something with it.
Stick it in a pumpkin pie. Isn't that on American Pie?
Apple pie. Pumpkin pie is kind of custardy. That'd be even more sloppy.
That's gross. Ew.
Stick it in a pumpkin pie, she says.
Okay, not pumpkin. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Ew.
Oh,
that's what you married, Dan.
Yeah. Here's a pumpkin pie for you, buddy.
Here, Dan. Here's your pumpkin pie. That'd be more like how you get away from me. There's a pumpkin pie in the kitchen.
Let it cool.
Or don't. I don't care.
So, yeah, it takes a lot of the accountability and responsibility off the man. And that's
all of it, not just a lot of it. It takes it all off of him.
And I think that's a huge reason why women don't come forward. It's because they don't want to have to battle that. They're getting their reputation could be it can ruin their lives. Yeah. It really can. And it's not because they did anything wrong, and it's not because they deserve it. It's not because shame is part of sexuality. It's not. It's been programmed that way. It is part of a system, and it's the system that needs to fall. Yeah. Whether it will or not, it'll probably just morph into something else. But I don't know. But so that's our views on killing a puppy or getting married. It just highlights the problems with the system. And I think we kind of went over that. So leave it there. Just, as we always say, just touch it. It's fun. It's our slogan on purity culture. No, it's not. No. It is. No. You got it tattooed on your left cheek. She didn't. Anyways, the point is just, hey, there's a lot of stuff that's been programmed, and we got a lot of deprogramming to do. Yeah. Deconstruction affects a lot of areas, and it's not just those who were Christian that need to deconstruct. Everybody needs to deconstruct. Yeah. There's a lot of programming. It's a societal problem. Yeah. Exactly. So, all right. Well, go to dannycan.com. Check out the website. It's got everything that's Drop the Stones and Transformed Life related. So go in there and check it out. Get all our links and connections and shops and sessions booked with Candi for hypnotherapy. Go up top. Whatever listening device you're listening to, give us 5 stars. For some reason, it helps. It promotes it. Think of it like on TikTok or an Instagram. When you get a like or a comment, it bumps the algorithm. Yeah. There's certain keys that bump the algorithm. So if you start getting more likes and follows and comments, they'll put it before more ears. Yeah, and they'll start putting it out. And we'd appreciate that. Yeah. You can also share it with people you think might listen to it. And comments doesn't have to be, just make up anything. It don't matter. Say whatever you want. Doesn't have to make sense. They just want to see someone comment. Please make sense because we read them. Would, but if you're too tired and still want to help. Okay, don't. Just you could just say hi. You don't have to write gibberish, all right? Slam on your keyboard. I'd be like, oh, their cat was writing this. Oh, God. Anyways. I've also started a Substack, so I would appreciate any followers there. Is that on dannycan.com? Link? Yes, the link to that. And I will be doing a subscription at some point, but yes. So
Right now, I've got some free ones that you can read. Just
Nice.
they're from the blog, so you can read them on the blog. You can read them on Substack, but there will be some subscription Substack coming in the future. So
Awesome. And then if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, press that subscribe button. We'd love it if you did. So other than that,
listen to us.
we'll keep you pure at heart.
Goodbye.
Bye.